Hey, so here we go, another video. I wanted to go ahead and get this posted because I'm going to be posting a few things on Facebook, a few links, attachments I'm going to be sending. And so I wanted to give an explanation. It's always easier to probably just explain it in a video. And in regards to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, as some of you might know from listening to my testimony, or those of you that know me, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. And then I was out of the church for multiple years. And then our family, when we started learning the importance of the Sabbath, we started to go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Texas in about 2018. And the things that I want to talk about, I just feel that it is my duty as a disciple to expose these things, as I have been doing, as I've learned truth over the last few years, what I'm using my Facebook page for. And I would have wanted, our family, we would have wanted people to come and tell us these things. And the journey's amazing. I would never go back and change things. We enjoyed studying the scriptures, and there were some biblical truths that we learned while we were there. The pastor that was there when we started going was amazing. We met wonderful people. So what I'm going to go over is basically just exposing the Seventh-day Adventist denomination as a whole. Again, there's so many wonderful people in these denominations that just don't know and just they're not aware of these things. So it's my job to expose where the enemy is working and what we found along the way. So a big part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is Ellen White, which I'm going to go over her a little bit and what we have learned about her. And, you know, kind of a little bit of background on things that have gone on within the church. Ellen White is the Seventh-day Adventist, claimed that she is a prophet and that she also believes that she was a prophet. And she has many, many writings. And while we were in the church, we never followed really her writings. We were studying more the scriptures. We thought some of her writings were great. There were red flags along the way, such as, there was a couple different, we would see one version of her great controversy and then another one that was put out at a later date. There were just some things that we are starting to question. And then one of their core foundations of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is one of their core doctrines is the 1844 investigative judgment. And those of you that are Seventh-day Adventists, I don't need to explain that, but those of you that don't know, the 2300 day prophecy in Daniel, from their conversions and from what they have gotten from Ellen White, as well as William Miller, who was a Baptist, who came up with the 1844 end date of the 2300 day prophecy. They claim that the days in the scripture convert to years based off of just a couple scriptures. That never did make sense to me because the time prophecies in Daniel and in Revelation are very specific as to days or months or years. And so like 1260 days, times and a half a time, 42 months. It's very specific. And 1335 days and 1290 days. These are all time prophecies that have not yet been fulfilled. But one of theirs, which I'm not going to get into the details because you can always do your own homework on this, and those of you that are Adventists already know that they believe that the 2300 day, which they believe was years, ended in 1844, that judgment was ended then, which never made sense. I said, how could judgment in the time periods be done so we're just floating out here in time? There's no way we could be in judgment for this long. And I would ask people, what major thing? It's not like the earth shook or anything in 1844. What happened, where that could have been the end of judgment, the investigative judgment? No one could give me a straight answer. And clearly William Miller was wrong because, Christ, Yahusha, never did come back in 1844. And then the Adventists say, okay, well, from a thought, oh, that's when Yahushua went from the holy place into the most holy place in the heavenly sanctuary. So that is a big one that they, one of their core doctrines. And so again, I could never get clear answers as to, it just never did make sense. We just kind of let it go and just were studying other things. And then again, another thing, they have 28 fundamental beliefs. So when you get baptized into their church under the 28 fundamentals, their creed. And that was also why we were disfellowshipped a couple years ago, because we didn't go along with the false Trinity doctrine that they follow, the foundational doctrine of the Catholic Church, the man-made Trinity doctrine. And so they kicked us out from not following that. That's part of their fundamental beliefs. And so if you don't follow their fundamental beliefs, you will get disfellowshipped, as we did. And one that we really didn't pay attention to, that we kind of realized later, was their number 18 fundamental belief. They claim that the SDA church is the remnant church, and they believe that it was manifested in the ministry of Ellen White. So again, when you're getting baptized into this under their creed, following her writings, and that you need to go by these writings. And when you go against these writings, then you shouldn't be part of that church. You're not part of their remnant, because they believe that Ellen was a prophet. They will put her writings above the Bible. They will say that they don't. They say that, oh, she's the lesser light. But no, her writings are used a much higher percentage within the church than they use the Bible scriptures. So, and then another red flag once we were out is when, and again, we wouldn't change anything. It was a blessing being part of the church and meeting people. But when we left, it was a blessing, because our eyes were open to a lot of the deception that was going on. So as long as we were in that denomination, we were going to have those blindfolds on. As long as if we would have, we're in there. So in order to get out, these things started to be exposed, and allowed us to dig into scriptures, dig into history, finding out these things that were going on. Ellen White never did use the true names of God or Jesus. The true father is Yahuwah, and she is God. God could be any God. It could be the God of this earth. Jesus, she uses Jesus. Yahusha is his true name. And if she truly was a prophet, she would understand the meaning of where the name Jesus came from, and she would not have been using that. So that was just another thing that was starting to ring in our mind, because when we were in the church, we looked at her as a good person. She had good writings. Even when we left, we're like, okay, well, maybe some people are misrepresenting her, by using her writings way too much. Because if you bring anything to anyone in the SDA church, biblically and scripturally, bring scriptures, they will more than likely come back with Ellen White writings to battle it. And so we're like, well, yeah, I don't think she would have wanted them using her writings over the scriptures. But then we were starting to think these things about her, like, was she legit? And so, again, another one, with her writings, that they believe that she was given these gifts of prophecy, that they are the remnant church. They believe that they are the remnant church. So if you are disfellowshipped, or if you leave, then they will say, oh, it's too bad for that person. They're being shaken out of the remnant, and that you are not part of the remnant anymore. So that was a big deal, because there is no denomination. It is, the remnant is Yahuwah's people. And it's not a structure. It's not a church. It's not a denomination. It's not it's none of these. It's his people. It's our Father in heaven's people that are understanding the truths of his scriptures. And there was always, when they talked about, another thing is that they say that her writings are the spirit of prophecy, which was a red flag for us, but we never really, I would just think, there's nowhere in the Bible has Ellen White's name. And how can her writings be called the spirit of prophecy? because, in Revelation 19:10, it says that the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahushua. So that's blasphemy by claiming that her writings are the spirit of prophecy. So that was another red flag that made us start to dig into more. And so let's see here. As we dug then further, we found out that she plagiarized a great amount of her writings. And she used writings from foreign authors outside of the U.S., and the copyright laws, they were not as strict or as enforceable at that time. And so, and we have multiple sources to prove these facts, that she did indeed plagiarize her writings. And another thing is that then confirmed to us that she was definitely a false prophet, a false teacher, deception. This SDA church becoming a major deception through her is that she didn't even know our biblical cosmology. She doesn't even understand the earth that we live on, that we do not live on a globe. She believes in the globe and space, that even proves that her visions were false visions, because she says that she had a vision where she was flying out, in space to other worlds, and she saw another world with 7 moons, and that's not true. We have a firmament above us, and no one can go outside of that. There is no space. We have the Father's throne above this. These are all the scriptures. What she says does not align with the Bible scriptures. So we knew she is definitely a false, finding all these things gradually, which was a blessing, like I said, coming out of the church and realizing the deceptions within the church and with Ellen White. So we knew, this is getting deeper than what we thought. And then she was also part of the Freemasons. Another thing, we started pulling up documentation and history on that, which then brought back something that Brad and I had noticed back when we were in the church, because we had heard that she had an obelisk, which is a Masonic symbol. She had one of those on her grave. And we had asked a few people, like, hey, did you know she's got an obelisk? That's a little strange. And they would just say, yeah, she didn't know they were going to do that. I think it's just a way to try to make her look bad. But no, it wasn't. That was planned. She knows, because she was part of the Freemasons. Her husband, James White, was a Freemason, as well as many of the Seventh-day Adventists were Freemasons. And I'll be posting things on that. They have the hand and coat gestures in their photos, which show that they are part of the Freemasonry. She used a lot of Masonic terminology. I have pages and pages of her writings I have that show the Masonic terminology that she used within her writings. And then ultimately, just not too long ago, we started studying the true biblical calendar and the true seventh-day Sabbath. So right there, the church says that they're a Sabbath-keeping church, but don't understand that Saturday is worshiping Saturn, the god Saturn, Saturn's day. Saturday is not even the 7th day of the week. That was actually created at 321 AD. And in some of my other videos, I posted and will be posting more about the calendar and how that works, how it's been changed. There is no 7-day continuous cycle. That's not scriptural. The calendar starts with the new moon. The Bible says in Genesis that we see by the signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And multiple places where the moon starts the month, and then you have your cycles, and you have your 7-day cycles. The true 7th day. Saturday is not the 7th day, which those of you that know, Seventh-day Adventists are big on Sunday law. Sunday law, Sunday law, Sunday law. That's going to be the mark of the beast, they say, and that's all they're looking for. But they don't understand that the day that they're worshiping on is also very pagan, which is why the Catholics are okay with Saturday worship. The Pope knows that it's still a false day of worship. So then that makes you dig in and they have it wrong with the mark and the seal. If they don't understand the God that they're worshiping because they're following the false Trinity doctrine, the foundational doctrine of the Catholic Church. They don't know the true biblical cosmology. They don't even know the true seventh-day Sabbath. Ellen White is their prophet. They're using her above the scriptures and all of her writings to prove things. And when you call things out, when you expose things, that's when they will come back, and then they will use her writings. And so that's pretty much, I know that was just kind of a brief thing, but with the things I'm going to be posting, I just wanted you to know where we came from. Those of you that knew that we were Seventh-day Adventists, why we came out. Even if we weren't disfellowshipped, we were going to leave the church because we didn't want to follow a church that's worshiping a false god. And you always should question. In these churches, there is a pulpit. You've got a pastor. They're preaching down at you, filling you with everything that they want to teach you, and these man-made doctrines, same as what happens from when we're children and how we're being conditioned in schools. We're sitting in a classroom, you got a teacher up front teaching you things, and then they're testing you to make sure that you get a good grade. But it's all telling you what they want you to know, but we're not questioning the narrative, nothing. We've just been fed lies for so many years that everything we are taught, you must search out. Take everything to scriptures, to true history that happened, because Satan is the god of this world, and he is working and he's using these denominations. Seventh-day Adventist Church is no different than any of the other churches that fall under the umbrella of the harlot church, the Catholic Church. Catholics means universal. They are part of it as well. And in Revelation, it states, come out of her, my people. We must come out of these denominations. We must come out of these churches, even the non-denominational. They're teaching false doctrine. We must question the pastors and the teachers and the leaders. And so, again, I'm not here to throw people within the Seventh-day Adventist Church under the bus. I am calling out the church as a whole, as the denomination, and how there is so much deception within it and drawing you in, and the things that all of the false teachings that are going on. So again, take everything to the scriptures, and once you're willing to be open and to be able to step outside of this and just pray for truth and only truth, there will be persecution. I promise you that. We've experienced it ourselves. There will be persecution, but the Bible said we'd receive persecution. Yahushua was persecuted greatly. So these things will happen. The disciples were persecuted. His people will be persecuted for truth. But we must stand on truth and call out, expose these evils that are going on. So pull out the scriptures, pull out history, look it up for yourself. Again, don't just go by what I say, but look these things up, because we would kind of blow things off a little bit like, I'm sure it's not. They wouldn't just tell us these things, but no, the enemy he's very deceptive in how he teaches. So use your discernment, and when you feel that, you've got to study it out. So thank you again.